In a scale house office outside Albany, New York, an officer is reading a ticket out loud, line by line, and the number at the bottom keeps climbing. Not for speeding and not for a logbook, but for the way the trailer sitting outside the window was set up. The axles were in the wrong place. The weight sat on the wrong end. And in New York, overweight fines are calculated by the pound. Run heavy enough and the paperwork can run past $25,000 before you ever leave the parking lot. And yet all across the country, drivers with 30 years and 3 million miles keep running setups just like his. Banned axle positions, forbidden tire choices, outlawed combinations, and a few tricks that live half hidden in the side box. Today we are counting down 10 of them. And number 1 is a setup that veteran drivers run every single winter because they will tell you the legal version can put you in a ditch. Quick word before the countdown. Just like last time, trucking has 2 rule books. There is the official one, written by state legislatures, bridge engineers, and insurance lawyers, most of it measured in pounds, inches, and feet. And there is the unofficial one, passed down at fuel islands from drivers who learned what a trailer actually does when the numbers on paper meet ice, wind, and bad pavement. Some of the bans on this list are dead right. A few of them, the road quietly proved wrong. We will be honest about which is which. Let's get rolling. Number 10, the cheater pipe. Walk down the line of flatbed trailers at any truck stop in Texas or Oklahoma and look in the side boxes. Somewhere in there, half hidden under the chains and straps, you will usually find a length of steel pipe about 3 feet long. Drivers call it a cheater pipe, a snipe, or just a persuader. It slides over the handle of a lever-style chain binder and multiplies the force, letting a driver crank a chain over a steel coil or a load of lumber until it sings when you tap it. Nearly every safety department in the industry bans it. Company handbooks forbid it by name, and safety inspectors flag it because a lever binder loaded with that much stored energy can kick back like a rifle. Drivers have lost teeth, broken jaws, and shattered wrists when a snipe let go. That is a real body count, and the old hands do not pretend otherwise. But here is their side of it. On the old lever binders, a chain that was not stretched drum tight could work loose over 200 miles of rough pavement, and a loose chain on a 48,000-pound coil load is a catastrophe waiting for an exit ramp. The pipe was how a 160-pound driver got a chain tight enough to trust. The honest ending to this one is that the ratchet binder finally solved the problem the pipe was solving. But open those side boxes anyway. The pipe is still riding in most of them, because the old hands trust steel they have watched hold for 30 years before they trust a number in a catalog. A rule can ban a tool. It has a much harder time banning what a driver has seen work. That one lives in a side box. The next one is bolted under the trailer itself, and in one particular state it can empty your wallet fast. Number 9, the California slide. On a standard 53-foot dry van, the rear axles ride on a sliding rail. Pull 2 pins and you can move the whole tandem forward or back under the trailer. Out on the open interstate, veteran drivers love running those tandems slid toward the rear. The trailer tracks smoother, it sways less in crosswinds, the ride stops beating the freight and the driver's spine, and the weight distributes across the bridge span the way the federal bridge formula likes it. Then you cross into California, and that setup becomes a violation. California law says the distance from the kingpin to the rearmost axle cannot exceed 40 feet, which forces drivers to slide their tandems well forward. The state wrote the rule for a reason, because a trailer with its axles slid back cuts corners wide, and the rear of the trailer off tracks across bike lanes, curbs, and crosswalks on tight city streets. On a Los Angeles surface street, the rule makes sense. The driver's complaint is that the law applies on Interstate 5 in the empty middle of the state exactly as it applies downtown, and that tandems jammed forward make a trailer ride rougher and dance more in the wind at 60 miles an hour. So experienced drivers run their preferred setup right up to the state line, slide at the last truck stop in Arizona or Nevada, and slide right back the moment they leave. The ones who forget or gamble meet an officer with a tape measure and the fine stings. The road teaches you where the line is, literally in this case. The California slide costs you a fine and a lecture. This next trick, drivers only ever reach for when the alternative is losing the top of the trailer entirely. Number 8. The airbag dump. Somewhere in upstate New York right now, there is a bridge with a steel beam so scarred it looks like it went 12 rounds with a can opener. Low bridges eat trucks, and in New York, a bridge strike brings tickets, points against the carrier, and repair and liability bills that can blow past $25,000 without slowing down. Which brings us to a trick that old drivers whisper about, and safety departments absolutely forbid. Modern tractors and many trailers ride on air suspension, and there is a valve that dumps the air out of those bags. Deflate the suspension, and the whole rig squats. A trailer marked at 13 feet 6 inches might drop 3 or 4 inches. Drivers caught on a bad route, staring at a bridge marked 13 feet 4, have dumped the air, crept underneath at walking speed, and lived to tell it at the counter. The companies ban it because the trick fails ugly. Bridge clearance signs can be wrong in either direction. Pavement crowns rise in the middle of the lane, and a rig creeping on deflated bags handles like a shopping cart with a bent wheel. One misjudged inch turns a clever escape into a peeled open trailer roof and a closed highway. Even the gray-haired drivers who use the trick will tell you it belongs to the era before GPS, when a paper map and a detour sign could trap a 13-foot-6 trailer on a parkway with no way to turn around. Today, truck-specific navigation should make the whole gamble unnecessary. Should. The bridge in Albany still collects a trailer roof or two every year, from drivers who trusted a car app instead. That trick hides underneath the trailer. The next one hides in plain sight, behind nothing but a sheet of vinyl. Number 7. The curtainside gamble. A curtainside trailer looks like a dry van, but its walls are heavy vinyl curtains that slide open like a shower curtain, letting a forklift load from the side in minutes instead of an hour through rear doors. Shippers love them, and they created one of the most quietly dangerous habits in the industry. Federal securement rules are blunt about it. Unless a curtain system is specifically built and rated as load securement, that curtain is weather protection, nothing more. The freight inside is supposed to be strapped and blocked as if the curtain did not exist. Plenty of drivers skip that part. From the outside, a curtain side always looks sealed and tidy, and no strap in America is faster than the strap you never throw. Inspectors learned to slide those curtains open at the scale house, and what they found, unrestrained lumber, steel, and pallets leaning against a piece of vinyl, is why securement violations put trucks out of service on the spot and pile fines onto the carrier's record. The veterans are split on this one, and honestly, the split is the story. The old hands who hauled palletized freight that could not slide anywhere argue the rule treats every load like loose steel. The old hands who have seen a curtain bulge open on an off-ramp and watched lumber rain onto a guardrail say the ban is one of the most correct rules in the book. When the drivers themselves side with the regulators, pay attention. This next setup, though, is one where the drivers mostly side with each other. Number 6. Forbidden doubles. Out west, it is a normal sight. One tractor pulling 2 trailers through Nevada, or even 3 across the wide open stretches of Utah and Idaho in the handful of western states where triples are legal. On a few eastern toll roads, big turnpike doubles run legally too, but cross the wrong state line with the wrong combination, and that same setup becomes seriously illegal, with fines, out-of-service orders, and a furious phone call from the safety department. The bans exist because a set of doubles is genuinely less forgiving than a single 53-footer. The rear trailer amplifies every steering input, a phenomenon engineers call rearward amplification, and in a hard swerve, the back box can whip and roll while the tractor stays planted. Mix that with eastern traffic density, short merges, and mountain curves, and legislators said no. The old LTL drivers who spent whole careers pulling doubles tell a more complicated story. Pulled by a driver who respects them, who never jerks the wheel and plans every lane change a half-mile out, doubles track beautifully, and split freight into flexible loads that keep small towns supplied. Those drivers were tested, endorsed, and proud of it, and some of them ran combinations across gray area routes their companies quietly tolerated for decades. The honest verdict here lands in the middle. The equipment was never the problem. The problem was that highways full of average drivers leave no room for a setup that punishes anything less than excellence. If you are enjoying this second ride through the unofficial rulebook, hit subscribe because this channel digs into trucking, highways, and blue-collar life every single week. And the winter setup waiting at number 1 is the kind old drivers argue about at the counter. Now number 5, a switch on the dash that entire state legislatures wrote laws about. Number 5, the cab switch lift axle. Dump trucks, heavy haulers, and Michigan gravel trains carry extra axles that can be raised and lowered, usually with a simple air switch. Drop the axle, and it spreads the load across more tires, keeping each axle legal. Lift it, and the truck steers easier and stops scrubbing tires in tight turns. The trouble started with where that switch lives. Mounted in the cab, within easy reach, it invited a habit. Drivers would lift the axle in every turn, in every scale-free stretch, sometimes for entire loaded trips, because the truck simply drives better with it up. Every second that axle hangs in the air, the full weight slams down on the remaining axles, quietly overweight, grinding the road surface with forces that pavement engineers say climb exponentially as axle loads rise. States noticed their roads crumbling and responded with rules restricting driver-operated lift controls on loaded trucks and enforcement that treats a lifted axle under load as an overweight violation, fined by the pound. The veterans do not really dispute the physics. What they defend is the judgment. A skilled hand lifts the axle for one tight dock maneuver, drops it before the driveway ends, and never cheats a loaded mile. The rule, they will tell you, was written for the driver who left it up from the pit to the paver, which has been the pattern this whole list. But the next one is different because sometimes it is not the driver who breaks the rule. Sometimes the rule is broken for him before he ever releases the brakes. Number 4, the harvest overload. Every October across the Midwest, the same scene repeats. A grain elevator in Iowa or Kansas loads a hopper trailer from an overhead spout. The scale ticket prints, and the driver looks at a number north of 80,000 pounds gross. He did not ask for it. Harvest does not pause. The elevator line is 40 trucks deep, and nobody is going to auger corn back out of his trailer. So the load moves. Overweight is one of the most expensive tickets in trucking, and in the harshest states, the per-pound math on a grossly heavy truck can genuinely reach 5 figures, which is where this video's title comes from. The engineer's case is ironclad because road and bridge wear does not rise gently with weight. It rises steeply, and a few thousand extra pounds on every harvest truck ages rural bridges years ahead of schedule. But here is what makes this one interesting. The farm states themselves partially sided with the drivers. Many of them wrote agricultural tolerance laws allowing harvest loads a cushion, often around 10%, on designated routes during the season. The legislatures looked at the reality of a grain spout and a 40 truck line and decided the unofficial rule book had a point. The veterans' position is simple. They never loved running heavy, and they knew exactly which bridges they would never take a hot load across. Judgment again. It keeps coming up, and it is about to come up welded in steel. Number 3, the backyard stretch job. For as long as trailers have existed, owner-operators have modified them. A flatbed stretched 10 feet with a welded splice in the frame rails to chase longer freight. Axles moved. Homemade dovetails and ramps added to old equipment trailers. Spring hangers reinforced with whatever steel was in the shop. Some of that work was done by genuine craftsmen, farm country welders whose beads would pass for factory. And some of it was done on a Saturday with a stick welder, a grinder, and optimism. The rules on this are unforgiving, and they should be. Roadside inspection criteria treat cracked frames, unrated welds in load-bearing rails, and improvised repairs as out-of-service violations, meaning the trailer is done moving right there on the shoulder. Add a fabricated stretch that was never re-rated or recertified, and if that trailer folds under load and hurts someone, the liability lands on the owner with a weight no fine can match. The veteran's defense of this one is the thinnest on the list, and most of them know it. What they will actually defend is the older world it came from, when a working man could keep his own equipment alive with his own hands instead of a $9,000 shop invoice, and when a good weld was a point of pride. The best of those old fabricators built trailers that outlived their builders. But steel does not care about pride, and a frame rail only tells you it was welded wrong once. That is one the rule book got right. The next one, the rule book got wrong for 40 years. And then, in the rarest move a regulator can make, it admitted it. Number 2, the super single comeback. Here is the one setup on this list that was effectively banned for decades and is now sold as cutting-edge equipment. Look under a modern fuel-efficient trailer and you will often see one massive wide tire on each end of the axle instead of the traditional pair of duals. Drivers call them super singles. The idea is old, because one wide tire weighs less than two narrow ones, rolls easier, and saves real fuel. But for most of trucking history, state weight laws quietly outlawed the setup because axle weight limits were written per inch of tire width. Under that math, a single wide tire could not legally carry what two duals carried, so a trailer on singles ran either underloaded or illegal. Old-timers who experimented with wide singles got exactly what this list keeps describing: tickets, and the industry shrugged and kept bolting on duals. Then tire technology caught up. Modern wide-base singles proved they could carry full loads with proper wear, fleets showed fuel savings, and state after state rewrote the per-inch rules that had made the setup impossible. The banned configuration became the recommended one, promoted for the exact efficiency reasons drivers had argued all along. The old hands do point out the one real trade-off, because when one dual blows, you limp to the shoulder on its twin, and when a super single blows, you're riding the rim. But the pattern should sound familiar by now, because just like the split sleeper rule from our last countdown, this was a case of the regulations finally catching up to what the road already knew. And that brings us to number 1, the winter weight bias. The law is clear. A standard tandem axle group is limited to 34,000 pounds, drives and trailer alike, and drivers are expected to slide their trailer tandems and fifth wheel until the scale shows every axle group legal and balanced. In summer, nobody argues. But watch what experienced drivers do in late December, loading out ahead of an ice storm on the northern plains, and you will see the tandems ride a little differently. Slid to put every pound the load will allow onto the drive axles, the wheels that actually pull the truck, sometimes right past the legal line. Because on glare ice, an 80,000-pound rig lives or dies by the traction under those 8 drive tires. Light drives spin, and a spinning drive axle on ice is the first frame of a jackknife. Heavy drives bite. Drivers who spent careers running Highway 2 across North Dakota and the winter passes of Montana treated drive axle weight the way a sailor treats ballast, and they will quote you the same sentence the mountain drivers used about the engine brake. I would rather explain a ticket than a jackknife. The law is not wrong, because the 34,000-pound limit protects bridges, and no bridge cares what the weather is. But almost no veteran has ever regretted having weight on his drives in an ice storm. Plenty of drivers, sitting in the median watching their trailer pass them, have regretted the opposite. Look back across this list and the same pattern from last time shows up again, only sharper. Nearly every one of these rules is written in fixed numbers: 40 feet, 34,000 pounds. So many pounds per inch of tire, because numbers are the only language a law can speak. But a trailer does not operate in numbers. It operates in crosswinds and ice, in grain harvests and low bridges, in the hands of drivers ranging from rookies to craftsmen. The rules are set for the middle of the bell curve, and they have to be. The veterans on this list spent 3 million miles earning the right to know exactly where the numbers stop describing reality. And twice now, on the split sleeper and on the super single, the regulators studied the road and rewrote the book to match it. The road was the teacher all along. The rule book is still taking notes. If you rode shotgun for this one, subscribe for more from the world of trucking and the American highway. And if you missed the first countdown, the banned driving hacks that started it all, from floating gears to the Georgia overdrive, watch that video next. Keep the shiny side up, and we will see you down the road.